Michael, what's happening, man? All right. How's everybody doing? Getting everything set up. Ooh, hey, I'm out of focus. Let's fix that. Well, we have a fun one today. I'm working on the PinePhone. Now, the PinePhone, there's one thing that I'm having happen to it, and it's kind of funky. It keeps running dead on me because I forget to plug it in. So I don't know. The battery life on it is not great. So I'm thinking I'm actually going to pick up a second battery as I do my testing because I can't tell you how many times I've run it completely dead. Well, B-Man, thanks for dropping in for the first time. So yeah, so the PinePhone is really interesting too. Like every single YouTube video you watch of the PinePhone, people aren't capturing the screen. It's usually just like you got the overhead shot with a really good DSLR on like the best photos out there for the PinePhone. And the reason being is there's no way to capture the screen, or at least not an easy way. We're gonna actually capture the screen today using, I think it's a mirror, instead of using like Xorg or something like that. Some people have attempted to do like a VNC type connection. We're gonna use a mirror screencast. So, and this camera, come on. That camera's just, I gotta lock that off a little different. It's bugging me. It's like chopping off my hair. Looks like I'm bald. Twitch has been annoying. Habit to mute at the start. Yeah, there's some little things about Twitch. I really like the community. I really like the chat. It's probably, there's a reason why it's the #1 live stream platform. For all its faults, which is kind of crazy. Like, for all its faults, it's by far the #1, just because of all the options you got. The ease of use is considerably easier than other platforms. And then the utility of it is just amazing. But it's still, there's a lot of bugs and things like that. But YouTube's like a million times worse. So that's why I like streaming on Twitch, mainly just because of that. All the cool stuff you can do on Twitch compared to YouTube. HGH, man, yeah, long time. I found your YouTube channel while researching installing Linux. I've never used Linux before, and I'm planning to install it on a dual boot setup with Windows 10 and Ubuntu. Do you have any suggestions or tips? Yes, you have come to the right place, B-Man. First off, I don't recommend dual booting with just one hard drive. So if you're on a laptop, this can get a little tricky. But I would recommend using like an external drive or even a USB drive and just using a live environment as you get accustomed to Linux. But when you use one drive, what can happen is you can dual boot, do your install, everything works hunky-dory for many months. And then all of a sudden an update happens, whether that's on Linux, whether that's on Windows, and then all of a sudden you can't boot into one of your operating systems, which really sucks. So people freak out about that. I've made videos on how to fix that in case that does happen. But 2 drives are the way to go about dual booting. I love dual booting. I do it on my inside machine all the time. It still has Windows on it, and I separate those out with 2 different partitions. Second thing, I would recommend probably doing legacy boot if you have that option, because it's really good. It doesn't have any overwrite. When you have dual boot, there's this bootloader that loads at the start, and it's basically a menu that says, hey, what operating system you want? And sometimes that can get overwritten on the newer version of like UEFI and that type of thing. Do you know Jim Browning? He hack into scammers PC. Oh no, yeah. I've seen the videos, T-Chill. But that's awesome. I love that. Anybody that, any of the people on YouTube making comment or content around basically wasting these guys' time for like hours, and some of them hack into their stuff, but I love it. Like you see all these little, scammers from India. They have all these call centers that basically try and scam old people out of money trying to fix their PCs. And anytime I see these and I see people making YouTube videos on basically tying them up for hours on end, I think that's amazing. They're doing God's work because they're literally keeping a scammer from scamming someone else and just making good content, funny content out of it. I love it. I love any time someone does that. Even if they're not successful, but just tying them up for an hour or two, I think is fantastic. I have a different opinion about dual booting it with Windows. All you need to do is separate UEFI partition after the Windows partition instead of overwriting the Windows bootloader. Yeah, you can. So yeah, Phantom Way, you can do it that way. You can also, if I'm dual booting using UEFI, because Windows will take over usually on that bootloader a lot of times when you do any feature updates. So what I like to do is actually modify the Windows bootloader and add a Linux partition. The downside to that is it's not as customizable. It doesn't have that flair, the panache. When you boot up and you have like all your theming on your bootloader, you lose that a bit with, using something like EasyBCD or something like that to modify your Windows bootloader. Yeah, so the awesome window manager, I need to go back HGH and redo some of the how-to guides on the awesome window manager because it depends on what you're coming from. So I did it in Arch, I did it in Ubuntu, I've done it in, I think, Linux Mint now. We did that live on stream last week. And, oh, wow, we got some push-ups. Wow, you guys are just killing the push-ups already. But I need to go back and redo some of that because depending on which one you're doing, the packages are a little bit different. And I love Awesome Window Manager, though. Even my stream PC offline, which I don't even think I've told anybody about this, but offline I've switched out my stream PC to that as well. How do Game Hub stuff go? Yeah, the Game Hub stuff, I'm just like, I still like Luchers better than Game Hub. I looked at some of the Game Hub stuff and how it ties into Steam. It was a little finicky for me. So I need to work on that, but Greetings, Val. All right, we're up to 60 push-ups. We'll knock out 30 here then. At least get half of them. Start out strong. Is there any particular reason why you use Awesome? I always thought I was a bit bloated. Costas. So I'm a lot different than pretty much every other Linux YouTuber out there, I guess. I hate the term YouTuber, but we'll use it. I am a lifelong Windows user. So with that said, there's some pretenses you need to know about me. When it comes to bloat, typically it has to be really, really bloated for me to notice. So when I look at bloat, I'm looking at memory usage and those types of things. Typically, if it's within 100 megs, to me, it's just like, forget about it. I don't care, And also, in that same vein, when it comes to like open source projects, that type of thing, I love open source projects. I love that type of thing. However, I'm not an evangelist. I just use whatever's best. If that ends up being a proprietary product, I use it. So you'll see me use Vivaldi web browser. People are always, commenting going, hey, did you know Vivaldi's proprietary? I'm like, yeah, I do, but I still love it. So, so there's just certain things that I do a little bit different than other folks. But a lot of that is, for me, I just use whatever works best, whatever's the fastest, and that's why I was kind of so late to the Linux desktop game, I think, as well. Because there's a lot of things that I was having troubles with, probably 5-6 years ago when I tried Linux desktop, and I was like, it's not quite there for me yet. And it could have just been I needed get a little more wiser and a little older. So, oh my gosh, you guys killing me. We probably already maxed out the push-ups. Yeah, we did. Yeah, you guys already sold out all the push-ups. It's up to 120 push-ups. So I changed the push-ups to 20 at a time, figuring that would be easier to keep track of, because I didn't think so many people would redeem them all at once, but I was wrong. Yeah, so yeah, when it comes to the bloat, I'm so used to Windows 10, and you can't find anything more bloated than that. Windows 10, you just have so much bloat. I need to redo like my bloat videos around Windows 10. Honestly, those are probably the most popular videos on my channel. But going through like PowerShell, stripping everything out, and then talking about how Windows will reinstall bloatware without your permission. I mean, there's just so many things about Windows 10 that just is like, ugh. So when you get down to Linux, and you're talking about window managers and different types of window managers, and it's splitting hairs at this point for me, because one window manager is like 80 megs or 20 megs, and then the next one's like 10 megs, and then you might add a plugin for 5 megs, and then I'm over here with like Chrome installed that has like 3 gigabytes of memory usage or something like that, or Windows that's using gigs upon gigs of memory. And when I'm going, well, this one uses 20 megs or this one uses 50 megs in Window Manager, I'm just like, so it uses nothing. so that's the correspondence of that. So like when you see a lot of my content, a lot of it's coming from that Windows user perspective, because I still use Windows in my day job. So I still manage a completely Windows environment. I still have some Linux stuff on the back end, but nobody really knows about it. Everyone at work thinks we just use Windows, even though we use about 4 Linux servers. They're none the wiser. And that's pretty much the rest of the world. I mean, almost everybody, I think probably the biggest misconception I found in the Linux community as a whole, especially the Linux desktop community as a whole, is a lot of people don't realize the world pretty much already runs on Linux. Like, as a system admin, I know the CLI so well because, well, I've been in IT for 20 plus years, and it's very easy for me to relate the two. So when I jumped on Linux desktop, I just didn't understand the GUI. That's the only thing. I was just like, oh, okay, there's this menu stuff. But I could easily just jump back into the CLI and fix whatever it is. So that's why I'm so familiar with it in such a short period of time. But that's because Linux servers just rule. You walk into any data center, I would say probably close to 70-80% of all the operating systems in there is probably going to be Linux. So it's just kind of a strange phenomenon. I didn't realize there'd be such a disparity between the Linux desktop community and the Linux server community. Oh, Michael, I meant to ask. So I talk back and forth with Michael all the time. He's one of my top patrons, executive producer, and we were going back and forth about Intel. And I couldn't relay this in an email back and forth with you, Michael. So I want to actually just kind of throw this out to everybody. When it comes to Intel and AMD, you guys see the back and forth all the time on YouTube, and I don't really chime in too much on the hardware side of things, just because I'm not much of a hot rodder. I just use whatever works. And when it comes to hardware, I hate water cooling. I think water cooling's just a hobbyist thing. Even with, I can go afford a water cooling device, and I would use it as an art piece, but it's still an inferior product compared to a fan-powered PC. And that's just because you have to maintain it. There's all this upkeep to it. And then honestly, you really get almost very, very little benefit from the water cooling compared to the thermals on like a Noctua CPU fan. And in some cases, the Noctua will actually beat out the water cooling. But when you get into that, the AMD Intel debate that kind of raging on right now, and it's one of those things. I love AMD for my house, but and I absolutely hate Intel pretty much as a company because I've been screwed over so many times from them. But I use Intel all the time for business, and it's kind of an interesting thing. Like right now, everyone's like, "Hey, just buy AMD," and while I love AMD, and I do recommend people to buy it for their home PC, I still don't buy AMD for my business. If I'm building out a server, a lot of times it's still Intel. Whenever budget or money is of no object, typically I'm using Intel, and it's still it's still so reliable. And that's one of the things that I think is lost on some folks. However, here at the house, almost all my stuff is AMD. And I do that because I do use a lot of editing. And when you get into the editing portion of things or doing like program builds, AMD is going to just spank in Intel, usually just because of the clock speed, and the cores alone will usually push ahead of Intel a lot of times. So it was just kind of a fun back and forth me and Michael had, because Michael sent me a 9th gen Intel back here for the Linux Mint PC. I don't even have it on. All right, let me turn that on. Turn on the monitor so we get some cool stuff. But the Mint PC up here, it has Intel, and these are really great. Like the single core performance, like when you're doing gaming, and it's using most games don't really utilize all of the cores. Intel usually pushes ahead in gaming, and then also just single core performance is really, really good. So it's not until you really hit the really heavy multi-thread stuff like program builds and video rendering, which I do quite a bit, or streaming. Streaming is a good one where you'd probably want to really go towards AMD one. So should I use an AMD CPU for my next PC build? Yeah, probably. Right now, so like if I was gonna buy one, so I'm cheap. Let me preface this, I am cheap. When I go to buy stuff, and all the stuff you see in the rack build back here, it's all budget. I don't do anything but budget builds, because I think buying the latest and greatest in PC is just a waste of money. You get very little performance increase for, it just goes out of date, and then it's like half price 6 months from now. So let's say you could spend $2,000 on a PC build. If you wait 6 months, that $2,000 PC build's gonna probably be worth $1,000. So to me, I'm just like, well, I'll just wait 6 months and then buy that for that. I don't mind being 6 months behind the bleeding edge. I mean, you're not really gonna get that much more performance. But if you're gonna buy a CPU right now, Ryzen 4000 series is coming out, but now there is a good deal out. I saw it on Micro Center, and I'm going to link this in chat. It was let me pull this up. Micro Center, I think it was a 3900X. And this is a 12-core, 24-thread CPU for under $400. $389. Let me go full screen. And you also get $10 or $20 off when bundled with an eligible motherboard. So, yeah, that right there, that's ridiculous. That is, hey, if you're building a PC right now, that's what I'd go with. Hands down. You're just not going to find a better bang for buck with a 12-core, 24-thread, just unbelievable. I mean, the clock on this, I think, is over 4 gigahertz. Let's see. Let's go to specs. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, just the specs alone on this guy is just bonkers. Yeah, 3.8 is the stock settings. 24 processing threads, L3 cache, 64 megs. I mean, L2, 6 meg. I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, it's just bonkers to me that this thing is so cheap. So this is what I would buy right now if you're going to go grab a PC. Now, that said, a lot of PC components are a little overpriced right now, but that piece of the puzzle isn't. So, something to chew on. Something to think about. Are you using Linux to stream? Yes, B-Man. So, Linux for streaming isn't great out of the box to set up. The setup process is a bit nightmarish because it's just not done very much in the community. But, and this is a big but, it is the future of streaming. This right here I think is amazing. Like, I can just walk in to this little studio, hit record. And when I say hit record, I literally mean just come right on over here, hit record. There is no software that goes with this. There is no Elgato software with my Stream Deck. This is all open source. I don't have to update it. It never has an update. I just immediately have each one of these buttons is scripts. So I hit this, it runs a bash script to change. Let's go change to primary. Boom, switches to primary, switches to chat. And it does it all through bash scripting, and I can do anything through that. So love that. On here, this has taken a long time, and I'm still tweaking it. So there's little settings in OBS, and I do a custom build. I build directly from Git, and the browser sources and things that get pulled in. And I'm starting to get it refined down. And once I do, I will make a video once everything's 100% perfect. But I'm still running into some things where the buffering gives me a little latency, and then sometimes my voice and audio video isn't quite in sync. So once I have that completely 100% nailed down, I'll make a video over streaming in Linux, because honestly, having everything just work and then you can just leave it and then just run it for years and years, and that's super powerful. Yeah, Michael. So the 3900 versus the 10900, which just came out, Intel dropped that this week, I believe. The 10900 will pull ahead in single core performance, and also gaming, direct gaming, which, I mean, most gaming's offloaded to the GPU anyways. So, but the Intel will outperform that, and pretty much any single core processes. The 3900 still will just spank it with CPU rendering, anything that's going to max out pretty much all your threads. So if you're going to be able to use 24 threads or 24 processing threads for a process, it's going to beat it by about 30%. I mean, it's not even a challenge when it comes to like video rendering and like building a program or something like that. But really, when it comes to video rendering is where it's like, ooh, gotta have AMD. It would be very, very rare to run into like an Intel chip that people would be using for video rendering these days, where AMD is just like, they have just ridiculous amounts of ability to process things through the multiple threads they have on their CPUs. But the new 10 series of Intel, I mean, it's not that far behind. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Far Cry. So it depends on the game, Michael. Yeah, as you pointed out, like there's some games that are a little more CPU heavy, and those games, the Intel chips will like just blow AMD out of the water. So, I mean, Intel still has a time and place. I just don't push Intel, and I still hate them. And why I hate them is simply this. I had a fourth gen Intel chip in my main rig, and the motherboard had some issues, and I had to replace the motherboard, and I couldn't get that motherboard again, and I ended up buying a new chip. So I did that, bought a new CPU motherboard combo, because I just didn't want to order one off eBay or whatnot, and time was of the essence. I couldn't be down for more than a day, kind of thing. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll just upgrade my stuff. So I upgrade my stuff, and then something happened to my CPU, and I don't know what the issue was, or maybe I was swapping stuff out, but every single generation, every single iteration of the Intel chips, they were changing the chipset, and since they were doing that, they weren't making it backwards compatible, so you had to switch both the motherboard and the processor every single time, and it was just such a racket. There's no need for that. Like, you look at the Ryzen chipset, they've done it right, where you could just upgrade the firmware on that motherboard, and we're 3 generations in, and I can still use a first gen board with a third gen processor. As long as, obviously, we still got to do BIOS updates, and I think the AEGIS, or the Aegis, I could be saying that wrong, but whatever, that thing needs to be updated through firmware updates. But AMDs can carry for generations, and you're not sitting there ripping apart a whole computer, putting a new motherboard, new CPU in. Where in Intel, you update that processor, might as well grab another motherboard. I mean, it's just so wasteful, and there's no reason for it other than to Get that sweet money to separate you from your wallet. But yeah, it's not to say that Intel's bad. Like everyone, like right now, it's a little overblown. I like to show two sides of the story. I like a little more balance. And everything on YouTube's just like, buy AMD. And I'm like, well, there's times where I do like Intel more. And usually that's a lot in business. Honestly, even in business workstations, I'm still buying Intel. Just because they do have a bit better reliability and stability compared to AMD, especially when you're doing new builds and things of that nature. So, oh, hey, we got a dab from Artie. So, Artie, dab time. So yeah, like Intel and AMD, I don't really, I don't see much difference between AMD and Intel on the Linux side of things. I don't, for GPUs, yes. When it comes to GPU capabilities, AMD versus NVIDIA, that's a completely different story. But when it comes to Intel and AMD in Linux, kind of splitting hairs. I don't really notice too much of a difference between the two. Both of them didn't. Did I miss a dab? Oh my god, I missed a dab. 2 dabs for HGH because I missed it. I did not realize. Oh my gosh. We're gonna move it out. Dab, and then dab. Just for you, HGH. Just because I missed it. Me miss chat? I can't believe that would ever happen. New server at work will be AMD, funny enough. Hosting a bunch of VMs. I could see that. If you're loading up a virtualization server or host, and you were going to probably launch, you know, you can do some crazy setups with the AMD's CPU. Yeah. Nibbles. Going from Intel to AMD Ryzen. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I was one of the very first Ryzen people out. I pre-ordered Ryzen just because, like I said, I was so upset with Intel with how they were doing customers dirty by switching out the chipsets and basically any new iteration of a CPU, you had to buy a new motherboard. And because of that, I just wanted to support AMD. So as soon as Ryzen got launched, I looked at the numbers. I'm like, yeah, that's probably not right. AMD is probably just up to their old marketing gimmicks. But I'm going to support them just because I don't want them to go away and then just be stuck with Intel for all eternity. So when Ryzen came out, I was the very first person. I already pre-ordered. I just stopped by the electronics store on the way home, grabbed my Ryzen motherboard and CPU, swapped it out from, I think it was like a 4th or 5th gen Intel that was in that PC. And as soon as I did, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually good. And because the running joke for probably the longest time was AMD CPUs, like the Devastator line was just hot garbage. I mean, you only bought it if you like had running like an extreme budget or something, because their performance was not good at all. And they ran kind of hot too. So it's been a long time since AMD's had a good CPU. Linus Tech Tips used AMD on his server and it blew up in his face. Yeah. I don't know the exact backstory behind Linus and the AMD stuff. Some stuff the Linus does is a bit out there, a bit crazy. But I mean it makes good video content, which is good. But yeah, I'd be curious to see what Linus's backend looks like on his server room. I know, like, I the one criticism I probably have, or one thing suggestion I would say, not so much criticism, is I think he's using 40 gig Ethernet to push all his work product between it and the server. Now, how most enterprises works is you have you have two networks. You have your regular network, which all your workstations are attached to, and then you have your storage area network, which is everything's attached to. I don't know how he has his split up. I'm a big proponent of doing like fiber. Like you can go grab some cheap brocade switches and things like that, and then doing an entire storage area network through that, and then on the back end doing the storage area network, tying all that in. If you're pushing a bunch of data, you can do that, and then on the front end with the workstations and stuff, separate that out so you're not having a bunch of crosstalk or a lot of congestion from that. So if everything's on the same network, I could see that. So I would hope that he would separate all of that out to a storage area network and then have basically all the ingestion happening for all those giant red files. Like Linus's data set is insane, like completely bonkers. And that's where I think he probably could get the biggest bounce for what he's doing is probably splitting up his network a bit. So I don't know what his numbers are though for there. I haven't paid enough attention to really make a thing, but usually that's where when you get a bunch of young guys setting up a network or setting up something, a lot of times they focus too much on the hardware aspect of it, and then they miss a little bit on the networking piece where separating that out, you probably get a little bit more performance. Yeah, Hikari, I changed that to the highlight message just because I didn't want a whole bunch of highlighted messages. I was getting a lot of highlighted messages. Yeah. I mean, so I don't want to criticize Linus too much here, because when you set those things up and some of the things he's doing just isn't really done in a traditional data center. Like I think he did like an NVMe, giant NVMe array with Samsung residential drives. That would never be done in a data center. You don't use residential grade stuff when you're doing a giant network attached storage. There's a lot of things that I've seen. I'm just like, eesh, that's gonna probably come back to bite you. But I see why he does it. Like, just to give you guys an idea, it's not necessarily that, hey, he does that because he doesn't know. He does it because of budgetary restrictions. Like when I set up a network attached storage for, let's say it was like a Fortune 500 company. And at that point, money's no object. Just whatever's the best, that's what you get. When you're setting those up, the drives themselves are probably 5 to 10 times more money than your residential drives you buy off Amazon. I don't know what it is with those, but they're really expensive. They're enterprise grade, and they just run and run and run for pretty much ever. But when you look at the actual specs of those drives compared to the residential grade ones and the throughput and all that stuff, it's really not, there's not a big gap there. You don't get a whole bunch of big performance, but what you're buying is the reliability of it. And I think a lot of times when Linus is setting these things up, one, he's getting residential grade stuff, and two, he's doing it because the performance over compared to here is very comparable. Or sometimes even the residential stuff will beat out the enterprise grade stuff, but you're not paying all that money for the enterprise stuff for the performance. You're paying it mainly for the reliability. So anytime I look at the hardware aspects and stuff he uses, a lot of times I find that in common where you just don't typically see that in a data center. What do we got? Broken. What's your opinion of using S3 from AWS to store data like that? Abdul, yeah, S3 is fine. I don't typically use AWS's S3 just because I find it kind of the price performance Not great. AWS is kind of pricey these days, and honestly, I think they pretty much priced themselves out of the market for anybody coming into it. They just have so much market share that they can charge that premium, and many businesses will be like, well, we have literally petabytes of data up here. Might as well just stick with them, because to move all that stuff out of AWS would cost a fortune. So, oh well, they increased their rates. Let's just stick with them. In that same vein, what do you do? As a regular person, don't use S3. Backblaze. Now, I tried to do, like, Backblaze is like so darn cheap. Like, it's $5 a month, and you can put terabytes upon terabytes upon terabytes of data up there. How they're able to do it for the prices they charge, it's amazing. So if you're looking for cloud-based storage and you don't want to spend a bunch of money, Backblaze is where it's at. Love Backblaze. Hey, Scotty, how you doing, man? All right, I'm gonna knock out some push-ups. We hadn't done push-ups yet, so let's do that. Do some good old push-ups. Oh crap! I have my old cable. It's janky, but I know. I'll get it fixed one of these days. All right, let's knock out a little push-ups, little push-up action. All right. Woo! That'll wake you up in the morning. Get some fitness. Get my fitness on. I'm telling you, that's really making me, I feel like 10 times better. Ever since we added that push-up to the stream, I don't exercise anymore, but I feel about 1 billion times better. So thank you all for the whole idea. That actually came from y'all. That was the big suggestion. Push-up cam. Still haven't got the pull-up cam in though. Count, guys. He cheated last time. Sometimes I lose count. Try not to breathe heavy into the microphone. All right. Let me see. How am I doing on my Ubuntu? So I did load Ubuntu Touch on this PinePhone. Let me see what I got here. I had an Ubuntu video, Ubuntu Touch is what I was going for. It's probably the biggest, like if anybody's interested in the PinePhone, I highly recommend Ubuntu Touch. It's been updated by UB ports and it is fantastic. All right. So, I'm going to pull this in and we'll be able to look at it. I'm going to go full screen here in a second. But, let's go. Ubuntu Touch and remote access, I think. Screen recording, that's it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this in live. I might be able to, though. So let me go full screen with this so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Yeah. So, why you don't see very much on the PinePhone is it's really hard to capture, do a screen capture compared to like Android or iOS. It's still so young. But with Ubuntu Touch, you can actually do mirror screencast right here. and output it to a file. Now, reading that file live is also doable. I just haven't done it yet. So, let's see here. So yeah, I'm actually capturing that. Oops. Yeah, okay. So I haven't actually pushed anything to it yet. PinePhone. Yeah, man, you know, so I love the PinePhone. For what it is, I absolutely love it. I gotta grab all of this. Oh. This entire line I gotta type in. But I think I can do that. Let's SSH into it. I think we can do that. You know what? Let's go to a new screen. What was... Can't remember what I was using. Let's do an nmap. See if we can't find the PinePhone. I can't remember what the heck I named it. Well... No. I guess I didn't name the phone. Ah, crap. Well, that's alright. Alright. Alright, we're gonna grab the phone, and I'm just gonna check to make sure I can SSH into this beast. And then we'll try to run mirror capture on it. Settings. And then you guys will actually be able to see what I'm dealing with on the old PinePhone here. Well, alright. Let's go terminal. Terminal. This takes a little bit. Big Pod. Since when am I a subscriber? Michael probably gave it to you. That's true. Without Michael, I don't know what we do. Alright. And we're gonna do... just checking to see the actual services on this thing. I wish I could show. Well, maybe I can. Maybe I can. Let's go full screen. Chat. See what we got. Got about half a battery. Maybe be able to do this. And bam. Come on, focus. Not really. I don't have a zoom on this lens because I'm cheap. Let's go with English. All right, crap. So I'm just trying to do this, see how we're doing on sudo system ctl. And this is using based off Ubuntu 16. So I'm going to go status. Actually, I don't even think this is... I think Ubuntu 16 didn't even use... Okay, well. Ah, crap. Let's try ifconfig. I'm going to just see if I can't just hit it. Yeah. ifconfig works. So I keep forgetting this is from a while back. The Ubuntu Touch was based on this. So it's 124 is the actual IP. I'm going to plug this back in. Hopefully we can hit it. All right. Ah. Let's go primary. Ah, crap. 1 second, my boss is calling me. Hey, Scott, how's it going? Morning. All right, I am back. Sorry. Day job. Still having a day job. I don't know. You know, I kind of go back and forth on this, guys. When it comes down to it, I don't really mind having my day job. Mainly because I don't get interrupted too much on stream. And I don't know. I still love what I do. If I just made videos, I think it'd be quite boring. Although I will say, the live streams here on Twitch, I love them. I absolutely love doing the live streams, talking to everybody. That is the absolute best. So, you know. All right, 126 is our PinePhone. Let's ping 126. And we do get a ping. All right, cool. Good Lord. That ping is dirty. Oh, well. That is, yeah. Let's see what we get. All right, SSH. What is the username of this thing? I should ask that, right? All right. We're gonna try and SSH into our old PinePhone. What do we got? A phablet. That is the default name. That's a pretty bad name. Phablet. Phablet. So let's try and SSH into that. Should have put my cable in a better spot, but whatever. Don't want this to die midstream. That would be no bueno. So we'll go phablet at 192.168.69.126. And I don't have an SSH server running. Crap. Hey, Hikari, I love you guys heckling me. It's all right, man. I dig it. All right, we're gonna launch back into here, and I'm gonna see if we got an SSH server running. Once I get the SSH server running, we should be good. Just making sure I don't miss any of chat. I just got off with my boss. But you know, I really do enjoy the day job still. The fact that it's kind of like part-time helps us a lot. Eventually, I'll probably need to drop it. I always go back and forth depending on the week. Some weeks I'll have a bad week. We're installing a new VoIP system at work still. And it's just blech. We ended up using a vendor that I'm not particularly fond of, but that's all right. That's all right. Start SSH. We're about to find out if the Ubuntu Touch has SSH by default. No. All right, that's all right. We're just gonna go. Sudo system control and start SSHD. I guess there is no SSH on here. Dang it. Why you do this to me, Ubuntu? Or I should say Ubuntu Touch. I thought I should have checked this prior to streaming, but that's all right. We'll get it going. apt install. If I could hook up a keyboard to this, it would make this like a jillion times faster. And health insurance, yeah. Health insurance here in the States is ridiculous. That's about $30,000 for me right there. No joke. $30,000 is what it costs to insure my family. So, honestly, they could pay me like a penny and just take care of my health insurance, and it's pretty much worth it for how much time I have to put towards it. All right, SSH. I think in Ubuntu 16 it was SSHD for the actual install. No, sudo. Ubuntu Touch actually locked the front end. Ubuntu is so awesome. You know, Ubuntu server I like. As soon as I remove the snapd package. You guys knew I was gonna say that. Sudo at. Yeah, let's not get political. Stay away from politics. Some tech guys go crazy with the politics. What is it? I think Barnacle. He's probably the biggest political guy in the tech space. He's always talking politics. And I'm just like, eek. People come for tech stuff, not to hear me rant and rave about politics. Man, this is bugging the crap out of me. You know what? Let's try and go through the App Store. We'll go chat, full screen chat here and see if we can't pull it in. Chris, how is 30K almost unheard of? Oh, what did I miss? What's 30K? Oh, hell. Oh, yeah. How's it 30K? So for a family in the States, this is in politics, is just facts. Health insurance on a privatized health insurance, when you get it, because of all the intervention from government agencies, anytime you get the government involved, things just bloat up in cost. So health insurance, if I need to insure my family, is about $30,000 a year. Per month, it's roughly, I think, between $2,500 and $3,000, and then I also have like other costs that get bundled into that as well. So it can actually go up to probably $40,000 or $50,000, depending on what your family is doing. So a good example of this is you have the base health insurance that you're buying, but then you also have a lot of your co-pays and things that go with the actual health insurance expenditures. My son has a disability, so we use extensive health care. So for me, it actually would be more than 30K, probably be looking closer to 40 to 50,000 just in healthcare expenses per year for my family. So that's me, my wife, and 2 kids. That's also with no subsidies, nothing that's in there. So if you are in a certain tax bracket, let's say lower class, you can get subsidies. But how do you afford the healthcare to start out with? There's just a lot of weirdness with that whole system, but that's how it just works in the States. So you do need to pony up a lot for healthcare, just to get coverage. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, so many people, I guess, just don't realize. A lot of people, I think, complain about their employers costing too much, and then they tell me how much they're paying, and I'm like, wait a second, you're only paying a couple $100s a month for healthcare? Sign me up. So it just depends. The bigger the company, the more subsidies you get, and that's how you get healthcare costs down in the States, is having a lot of employees. But if you're self-employed or an entrepreneur or someone that just has your own thing, you're just going to pay an exorbitant amount of fees and stuff. So much so, a lot of times you can work cash deals with doctors. So I know this sounds kind of like shady, but it's just how it works. You're actually better off finagling with the doctor itself, because a lot of times doctor offices and hospitals even, it's almost like going to a used car dealership. You can actually haggle your costs. So let's say I think I went in for my son's surgery is a good example. He had a surgery, and I think they wanted $25,000, and I was able to haggle it down to $10,000 as long as I paid cash. So I paid cash, and I was able to, exclude the insurance companies, and was able to get away with $10,000 for that surgery. But it is what it is. Moving on. It depresses me talking about health insurance. I don't want to talk about it no more. It sucks. I have completely got lost on where I was going with this. Oh, yeah. I was going to the software center. I think the software center on this is a better option. Let's go to the app open store is what I'm going to. Let's see. Come on. Let's go here. Let's see what we got. Come on. Open store. Let's see what happens. So we're going to go ahead and try and grab SSH. And where's that at? All right, we just got like in-map. All right, it's a little too bright, but come on. I want to get it to where I can just do the screen capture. You know, sometimes when you do stuff like this, it just doesn't quite work out the way you anticipate it. Yeah. Such a good idea for a stream. We might just table. We're gonna table the PinePhone until I can get the SSH. Otherwise, you're just gonna be basically me looking down at a phone the whole time. People are gonna just think I'm checking text messages. I'll figure out a way to really capture that. I've been making a PinePhone video for like the past month. so yeah. All right, let me catch up with chat. And then, you know what? Michael sent me some stuff. We can go over some other cool stuff. If anybody has any questions, be sure and hit me up in chat. I always love it too. Sparky, how you doing, man? Finagling with the doctor. Yeah, that's a good thing. You can't force people to use Linux. I've run into this before too, in business, and I want to just say that I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase this so it doesn't sound bad. But we'll just say it. It's early. I've had to replace some Linux admins in my career, and it's when you take evangelism and open source too far. I know that sounds crazy. How can you take free and open software too far? Well, in business, you can. I've had to actually replace 2 Linux admins in my day just because they almost like everything they offered was open source and weren't really listening to a lot of the executive staff, even though a lot of their ideas were crap. A lot of times they'd want to install or use a proprietary software, and then the Linux admin was like, no, we should use this free and open software as a thing. And that's okay to make that distinguish, but a lot of times they just weren't listening to what they were saying they needed or wanted, and then they basically would push a solution on the actual business that they didn't necessarily want, or it wasn't cohesive enough or put together enough to where it would work right. So that sucks. So when you're evangelizing Linux, remember, choose what is best for the client, for whoever you're doing it for. Don't just choose it because it's Linux. Don't just choose it because it's open source. Choose the best solution. And there's a lot of really great solutions in that business. A lot of times the things I replaced, I would go in and replace it with an open source equivalent. But there's times where I didn't, because it just wasn't a good solution. So it just depends. Always choose what's best for the end user. And sometimes it isn't Linux, and sometimes it isn't an open source solution, depending on the user. So a good example of this, I do a lot of law office stuff. So I'm constantly talking and dealing with attorneys. Sometimes their stuff, they're heavy with Word, heavy with Adobe, heavy with a lot of real proprietary software. And sometimes there's not a good open source equivalent. When there is, I do. So it just depends on what you're doing. So it's don't evangelize to the point to where you force an open source solution and then you burn that person's opinion of Linux, and that person now has a negative connotation to Linux and open source as a whole, and they think negatively about it. Don't ever force it. Mention it, show it, and just say, hey, which do you want? Here's your 2 solutions. Here's the open source solution, which we can try for free, and it's going to cost you way less money. It's going to save you thousands. And here's the proprietary solution. You know, which do you want to go with? let's demo both, and then just kind of give them the option and the choice. It's very important to always give choice, even when that choice may not be what you would pick. It's good to give it, and you'd be surprised how often open source and Linux does win out when you present it in that light. So many people just ram it down people's throats that it gets this really bad rap or connotation where if it was presented in a different way, it would have won out and it would have had a more positive influence. So really important, I can't emphasize that enough. Always give choice. Never pigeonhole people into one choice, because then they'll resent you for it. Oh, you still use Photoshop? Yeah, I you know, a lot of people still use Photoshop. I've completely switched, man. I love GIMP now. It's hilarious. I know I'm like one of the only people that actually love GIMP, but I do love it. When you get into the script foo and you do a lot of the scripting with GIMP, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Adobe, I really hate. I try to get away from it as much as I possibly can. Just because, I mean, the cost alone for folks, and this is a video I have that I need to, do I have it on my schedule? I've been meaning to make this. I don't have it on my schedule, but I'm gonna put it on here. Content creation using FOSS. So I need to make this because some people don't realize how much money they waste, especially those starting YouTube and video production. Everything I do is using free and open software. Everything. Now, that's not because I didn't start out that way. I surely didn't start out that way. I was using Photoshop. I would think I was using like Filmora was some of my very first videos was using Filmora on YouTube. And I was using a lot of paid proprietary stuff. And it's hilarious. As my channel evolved, I have switched everything to free and open software. So 100% of my whole channel is free and open software, which means everything's free. Like, people are paying thousands upon thousands of dollars every month to create content, whether it be YouTube or other places. But I literally have gotten to the point where my production quality has gone up and my overall costs have gone down just from using Linux. And it's learning some of the software, but also letting go some of that old stuff that I knew and learning something new. I mean, it's really amazing. And I'm going to make a video about that for those that really do want to do like YouTube or any content creation out there. I think just kind of showing that again, I think the last one I did where it showed my workflow, it's changed so much since then that I really do need to circle back around and do that. GIMP mask, Sparky. Oh my god. Yeah, so the video editor, I'm still using Kdenlive, but I still am on like 19.08. I still love that one version of Kdenlive. I still haven't switched off it, even though there's been like 7 or 8 versions since. That version is just like my sweet spot. Eventually, I'll kick Kdenlive to the curb. I just haven't yet. So, but Kdenlive's very good, all free. And frankly, if you're on Mac or I think they have a Mac client. I know they have Windows, and then obviously Linux. Yeah. If you're trying to edit film and it doesn't use GPU, hardware acceleration, like there's a lot of compromises I make when I do what I do, but I do it mainly for efficiency and productivity. So my workflow is something that just kind of evolved over time. And when I started, it was very different and it was taking me a long time to produce a video. I usually can turn around, produce a video in 2 to 3 hours from start to finish. So I usually have an idea, which is usually jotted down on my little notes here, and then I just take those notes, plug them in, and then I just start you know, filming, and all my stuff's not, I don't script anything. Everything's just off the cuff. I tried scripting a little bit, and it just was so wooden. I was just like a robot. And it just didn't work for me. So sometimes when I make my videos, it comes off, sometimes it's magic and sometimes it's tragic, but that's just the nature of my videos. Just because of how much I have a certain amount of time to shoot my videos, and I have certain schedule to keep up. So I allocate certain amount of time to each one, and then I just go until that time expires, and I'm like, all right, that's what we got, and then I produce it. So sometimes it works out great, sometimes not so much, but as you do it more and more with anything, repetition is how you get mastery, and the more you repeat something, the better off you get. As long as you're critical of your own work, you're able to look back, see what you did wrong, and then fix those things in the next video. So too many people are perfectionists, and you know, perfection is the killer of progress. I have not played with OpenShot at all very much, Sparky. I need to. I also need to check out Olive as well. I know Olive is a pretty good one. I know some people use that. So there's a bunch of them. Don't use Blender. I've heard people try to use Blender for video editing, and that's just a really horrible idea. But OpenShot, oh, there was another one in there too. Shotcut, I think it is. Shotcut is another one that some people use. I think, what was it? Old Tech Bloke switched from Kdenlive to Shotcut. And he went through all the editors like Olive, Shotcut, those. So he had a really good video where he kind of goes through them. I still love Kdenlive though. It works great for me. It doesn't crash nearly as much because he was having tons of crashes. That's why I stick with that older version, that 19.08, because I'm trying to think of the last crash I had. I think it was sometime last week I had a crash, but it recovered it just fine. I didn't have multiple crashes because some people have just tons and tons of crashes. I know Biddle, Rocco over from Biddle, he had some issues with Kdenlive, and he had an NVIDIA card and it was just constantly crashing. So I think he switched to something else as well. How do you safely transition from user to another, but without taking the problems of the original desktop environment? Val, what distro are you starting out with? That'll definitely show it as well. DaVinci Resolve is really interesting. DaVinci Resolve uses NVIDIA chipset. So to really leverage that, you really need to actually, what is it? You really should probably have an NVIDIA card. I've tried it a couple times on like my RX series, and it just doesn't work like at all. Or it's real finicky. So I've tried DaVinci Resolve several times. Not great, just not great. It's a thing. Blender's really interesting. I actually took, what was it, last year in 2019, obviously not this year, but last year at 2019 Linux Fest, they had a Blender class. Somebody that did Blender, it was really cool. I mean, it was probably one of the best 2 hours I've ever had at a conference, was learning Blender, of all things. I'm a big dork, but it was neat. You could, by the end of the class, I was able to do like a 3D design and everything. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Have you ever been to Ireland? I have not. I've flown over it. Stayed in Amsterdam for a little bit. I stayed in Gothenburg, Sweden for about a month. But no, never Ireland. I always wanted to go though. Although I don't know if I'd travel right now. Although I might get a good discount on the ticket. You know, but no, yeah. Yeah, but Blender's super powerful. Like, I think I've shown it a couple times in stream, but there's a lot of animation. There's one animation that was done completely in Blender, and it was mind-blowing. It looked like straight up AAA, something that, you know, any of the big animation studios would have put out, and it was all done in Blender. It was amazing, amazing. It is better looking than like Toy Story 3, you know, the latest Toy Story, whatever it was. And just, wow. I was blown away by some of the animations that's been done on Blitter. If you had to prioritize speed using a HDD, what distro would you recommend? So what are you trying to do when you say prioritize speed using an HD or a hard disk? Obviously, you're using a solid state, I imagine. What are you exactly trying to try? Oh, it does all this. Let me click that, Akari. Harry 101 UK. Let's see what we got. Let's see. I'm gonna go full screen with this. Probably gonna mute the. Well, we can try the VOD. Maybe. Sometimes the free and open source community does really, really well. Let's see. Portal, detach. This is all probably done in Blender.
I want to do it. I want it more.
Huh. Just flipping through here, just seeing. But he does everything in Blender. And he looks like he produces a... Well, no, that's all Half-Life Alex. Let's see. What does he have? Short form films. Credit playlist. And he's all over the place. Ah, crap. That's cool, though. Why don't you use dark mode on YouTube? God, no kidding. I do use dark mode. I just use so many computers that I forget to switch it out to dark mode. Ah, dark mode. Yeah. I got dark mode on my Twitch, but not my YouTube. That's awesome. Yeah, no dark modes, no bueno. And I've done a lot better with, since switching everything to awesome with the universal theme, like a lot of applications I pull up, even if the application doesn't have dark mode, it's dark mode by default, just because of how you can configure awesome and the GTK. It's really, really good. Let's see here. Danda. I'm dual booting with Kubuntu, but the response time is a little bit longer than my Windows SSD. I'm trying to make opening programs and rebooting faster. Ooh. So yeah, SSD for sure. I got an SSD, I think it was like an ADATA. It wasn't a great one, but that's okay. You don't need a fantastic SSD. Just if you can afford it, Samsung SSD is usually what I go with. But if money's a big concern, you can go with like a cheap ADATA one for, oh man, I think it's, I think I got it for 20 bucks, you know, $25 US. And that runs just fine. You know, it's not a great SSD, but it's way better than a traditional SSD, a spinning platter. It's only 128 gigs, but it's still enough to load an operating system and run it. So grab a cheap SSD, throw Linux on it. If you're doing Kubuntu can be a little heavy. I would probably recommend, let's see here. KDE Neon over Kubuntu these days. KDE Neon's pretty darn spiffy, which is very, very, I mean, splitting hairs there. Kubuntu and KDE Neon, Very, very similar, both based on Ubuntu, both running KDE. The only difference is the KDE Neon spin is from the KDE team. So there's a little more optimizations. If you're a huge KDE fanboy, by all means, KDE Neon is probably where you should be. First time watching you live. Great channel, by the way. Kind of a little bit off topic, but Snowden and Cambridge Analytica cases. Did you have time to get focused on your privacy besides Linux, or do you just not care that much? Lush fail. That is a fantastic, or Lush fall. Lush fall. That's a fantastic question. As far as privacy, it's something I always look at. I'm a huge fan of misinformation. I think we've evolved too much from a society nowadays, and there's too much integration. I'm sorry, there's an ant on my softbox and it's freaking me out. Just keeps going back and forth. It's hilarious. Anyways, misinformation is very important because there's no way you're going to be able to scrub your data. Give it up. As far as how much data you're giving to big tech and all these things, you're just going to have too much out there trying to say, hey, I'm not going to have any data online. I'm not going to have any footprint online, is a bit naive these days. It's very, very difficult to do. Now, I'm not saying hand out your data as much as you want. By all means, definitely be cognizant of what you're giving out, but just know that you're gonna hand out data no matter what you do. You're on Linux, you're on Cubes OS, you got all that stuff. The biggest thing I can tell people is misinformation is king. When you can, make up a fake identity. Start submitting that to people. And addresses, those types of things. I mean, there's just so much that goes into that to where anytime I can, I throw out a ton of misinformation. When I'm signing up for stuff that I don't care about, misinformation. All those cookies get cross-referenced and probably cataloged somewhere. And then when someone looks at my stuff, they're like, this Titus guy has like 10 addresses. What the hell? Which one's the real one? That is what you need. It's not perfect, but at the same time, if you're concerned with privacy and security, that's where you start. And then try to obscure and hide your real identity as much as you can. And when you give out stuff, try to give out bad information and then have that misinformation take over. Because you want, I try to stick to a 90-10 rule. 90% bad data, 10% good data. So if I'm giving out my real name or real address or whatever it might be, I try to make sure I put in 9 bad addresses in other various parts of the internet. So when someone culls my data, they're going to go, what is going on here? This is all funky, or it just completely jams up a lot of big tech firms. So highly recommend that. I do have an ant problem. Oh, well, whatever. It's the garage. I'm in the garage, so I don't care. You should show how bad I misinformed YouTube and how broken it is for me. What hardware and software would you need to host your own website? Not much, Cal. I'm using Hugo, and honestly, all I'm doing is I have a CDN service. I promoted them a lot last year because they were a channel sponsor, CDN 77, but that was it's more of a business grade CDN, so they're rather pricey. I don't say that's probably what some people should go with. But really what you can do is you can probably host, if you're not getting much traffic, like I get a decent amount of traffic, probably 1,000 users a day on my website. Nothing like crazy, but still enough traffic to where I need to have like a good CDN. However, if you're just starting out and you're only getting like maybe a handful of users a day or something, doing like Hugo static site generation, which I've kind of gone over a little bit on the channel, and then putting that on the GitHub or Netlify. I'm saying that wrong, aren't I, Sparky? Sparky would know. But you can do like the free plan from Netlify, and then it'll basically host your website. You can update it on the fly. Just make sure you're familiar with Markdown. And that would be completely free. You know, there's no reason to ever use hosting. And it's probably something that I probably should not have come out so negatively against hosting companies, because that's like I don't know, 90% of YouTube sponsorships is hosting companies. But I hate hosting. I hate website hosts. I hate like Squarespace. I hate a lot of hosting companies. You know, you see like HostGator and Bluehost, and there's just so many bad ones out there that I don't know why anybody gives them money. I know why they give them money, because they spend millions in marketing, but it's a waste of money. So anytime you ever see me sponsor, I've had SkySilk, I've had UpCloud, I've had CDN77. All these kind of straddle that line of website hosting, but they're not hosts. They don't innately do that. A lot of times, like with UpCloud and SkySilk, they're mainly VPS providers. They provide you with a virtual private server, and obviously in CDN77's case, it does like it's a content delivery network. So everyone needs these things. Those are good business cases for them. But yeah, don't pay for a website. That's the biggest thing. I absolutely hate when someone pays like $20 or $30 for a website and they're just like, meh. The only one there's been a good host. I don't want to say every host is completely horrible. If you're using WordPress and you absolutely have to have WordPress, I hate WordPress now. But let's say you need WordPress for whatever reason. I always recommend WP Engine. Not a sponsor. I don't have some link to click. It's just someone I've had a good experience with. Someone that has done a good job. And yeah, WP Engine. Definitely awesome. All right, I'm gonna get this ant. It's driving me crazy. He's on the ceiling now. He's coming after me. He's gonna attack me. Here. Ah. Ah. Yeah. Yo. There's an ant. There's an ant coming after me. He was like literally trailing up the ceiling, coming after me. Dang, I need to call Ricky. I'm getting bugs. Let me see the hair. Looks beautiful. Okay. All right. Killer ants, they're after me. All right. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. It was just a tiny ant. All right. What insect is Chris afraid of? Anything pretty much. I hate insects. So yeah, we do have fire ants here in Texas, and they bite you, and it's pretty brutal. It does suck. I would much rather get the Texas-sized mosquitoes. Yeah, so usually I have a pest control guy named Ricky. Great guy. And he comes out and usually sprays the outside. It's just been a bit. We were supposed to actually get our biannual treatment, I guess. Right, kind of fell right in the middle of quarantine, so of course all that kind of got pushed back. So you get ants real bad here in Texas when you don't get your house treated. Kill bugs. MX Linux is the distro that uses MX Linux. I think you can choose any desktop environment. I think it's pretty granular from my understanding. I haven't used MX Linux though, so don't take that with a grain of salt. Yo. Oh, the ghost pillow. Oh, they use XFCE. I like XFCE once you've customized it. So many people install XFCE and it's just so hideous out of the box. But once you customize XFCE, it's pretty pimp. I dig it. Can you try new Windows Terminal in WSL2? Oh crap, I forgot to tell you guys. I made a chocolatey video, and in the comment section, I was just like, oh no. Because they did WinGit. It's a package manager that Microsoft sanctioned, and it sucks. Like, it's a horrible package manager. So I know I bash Microsoft a lot, and it's fine when they create something good. And I really love the fact they're trying to do a package manager, but it's always half-baked. It's like everything they do is like half in, half out. So what do I mean by that? With WinGit, I think is their latest package manager. It's like chocolatey. But with WinGit, I don't think it has an update feature, and also I know you can't remove packages using it. So it's like a half-baked package manager that Microsoft put together. And so everyone's like covering WinGit. I'm like, I get that it came out this week, and I get that YouTube is all about like the trendy stuff. But I just, I have a list of topics. I just go through my list without any concern of trends. I know I should probably play to the trends a little more for views and stuff, but chocolatey is way better than that craptastic package manager Windows put together. So if you are using Windows and you want a package manager, use chocolatey. But I do need to cover WSL2. God bless, spitting on my microphone. I do need to cover WSL2, specifically adding like Linux desktop environments. There's probably seen some videos of that. And then also obviously accessing like ext4 drives. So, and as far as Windows Terminal goes, I did make a Twitter post, and I'm gonna actually pull this up for y'all about the Windows Terminal, because this perfectly encapsulates my feelings and thoughts around the Windows Terminal. Let me scroll down here. Ah, there it is. Beautiful. This is what I think of Windows Terminal. It's so true. It's an abomination. It is. So Mac OS terminal, Linux command line. I mean, you got those work great, but when it comes to like Windows command prompt or PowerShell, it's an abomination. Like, it's like such a half-baked experience. You have probably a tenth of the functionality compared to like a Unix-based command line interface, so when you get a Unix-based CLI, you can do a lot of things with. I think Windows should just give up on command line and PowerShell and all that and just switch everything to Unix. And I think, honestly, they might actually do that. I mean, really, the way Windows is going, it might end up just becoming a closed source Linux with a Windows kernel. And I'm okay with that, honestly. I still don't think they'll use like the Linux kernel or anything like that, because I think if they use the kernel, they have to abide by a lot of the GPL licensing, and they have a lot of issues with it. WSL2 it's pretty much Hyper-V, but it's integrated virtualization. So think of VMware in like coherence mode, or what was it, convergence mode, or whatever the hell that mode was, where it like mixes up the VM with integrates it into like their current environment. So yes, it is just basically running Linux in a virtualization, but the tie-in to the actual regular operating system is rather seamless. So you're running basically Linux VM, which Linux is just so darn light, you can get away with that. Hell, there's Windows programs that use more resources in memory than running a Linux VM in WSL2. So I'll touch more on the WSL2, and we'll load into the Windows box, and I'll load up WSL2 and hack around. I'll do a video on it, because I think a lot of the videos that people have done have been from a Windows perspective. I love to come from the Linux perspective and really kind of go over a lot of WSL2 stuff. Oh, the application Windows Terminal. I think was Windows Terminal in oh, okay, I read that wrong. Yeah. I got you. Let's see. Is Windows Terminal in Linux yet? I know this is going to be Windows Terminal. Let's see if it's in Linux. Yeah, I think it might be, actually. God. Do I really want to do this? Yeah. Let's see here. Let's go full screen. Let's do it. I'm gonna just troll people and use Windows Terminal. Switch out Terminator for Windows Terminal. Oh my word, that'd be brilliant. Can we build this from source, or is this a MSI? Is it Windows only? Let's see. Microsoft Terminal. This source code for Windows Terminal, Windows Terminal Preview. Installing. Oh yeah, it's Windows only. You can just use Chocolatey. Yeah, it looks like if they had it in Linux, I would definitely do it. But all right, let's try it out. Let's pull up the Windows box, and we'll just let's do that. I know. I use the game streaming, NVIDIA game streaming stuff to launch into my Windows box because it's just so stinking fast. It's like just such a great experience that it feels like I'm like right on my Windows box, and I can just do whatever I want, which is fantastic. Let's see, PowerShell. And I think it was Coco install Windows Terminal. What was it? Oh, Microsoft Windows Terminal. Let's do Microsoft Windows Terminal. Yes. Let's look it up. Oh, never mind. 1 second. Let's go PowerShell. I think I switched out my Windows menu. That's all right. Actually, let's try that guy. We'll run this as there. Let's try that install one more time. Let's see if it'll install this time. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. I don't know how many it's gonna... Ugh. Let's just type yes. I was like, it's installing so many packages. Let's see what all it grabs. All right, so it's got a KB. It's got a Visual C++, 140. What is that? I think 2015, I guess. So it'll install VC redistributable. Good night. Let's see what other dependencies this thing has. All right. Okay, now we're going on to the Windows Terminal. All right, cool. So Chocolatey installed all that. Let's launch into Windows Terminal. Yes. Windows. Or can we just type terminal? Windows Terminal. It uses the Microsoft Store. Oh, I love it. God, Microsoft. Baking it all in. So, yeah. So, this is a specialized version of Windows that I stripped out the Microsoft Store and a lot of the spyware in a lot of the telemetry and other shenanigans Microsoft does. So, yeah. Oh, Windows Terminal's not going to work on that box. Probably need to... I guess I could upgrade it to 20.04 and then try and stripping stuff out, but I really like to use that for my game stream PC, and I really don't like having all that extra crap in there, so it's kind of funny. Oh, it's dab time. It is dab time. All right, let's do some dabbing. And then when you got to do some push-ups, I've almost forgot my push-ups. Oh, man, slacking. Completely slacking. Use a VM. Yeah, actually, let's use a VM. We'll do that. Dab time. Oh. Dab. Dab for the cringe. Cringe zone. Yeah, so I think we can grab a VM. I got a Proxmox VM that I don't think I was using my custom version of Windows with it stripped down. So I think we can just pull this guy up. Win 10, start that guy. Pull up our console. Did that error out? I guess we'll find out here so shortly. Yeah, I'm using Moonlight. Yeah, I love Moonlight. Moonlight's great. All right. We're running into some issues here. What is going on? I think I migrated some of the stuff, so let's check to see. Guess we can reboot this thing. Remember when we fixed this after I broke it? Shocking, I know. Let's shut that guy down, right? I need to do a Plex, a complete Plex deal as well. Setting up Plex server through Linux. The cringe-gram. I like it, Sparky. You might not have been serious, but I am. That's a brilliant idea. So why did you name them Titus coins when we all agreed derp coins? Oh! Well, I can do that. I'll rename them. I forgot. Alright, let's reboot this guy. So... Wow. Alright, let's just reboot this whole node. I don't think it's been rebooted in a while. That reboot? I guess we'll find out. Alright, 1 second. No, I did not get GTA 5 working in Epic Launcher. GTA 5 works fine through Steam, but somehow with Epic and the Rockstar Launcher, it just doesn't work for crap on Linux through Wine. Alright, we should be back up and going. Have you done a Docker tutorial? I have not. I have some Docker tutorial things on, I think my website, christitus.com Docker. Committing. Yeah, so this is basic Docker usage. I actually can put this in chat. I think I was using Unify's controller and committing changes because Unify wants to sell you like a cloud key to use a lot of their access points, which runs about $200, and honestly, it kind of sucks. So I like to run this in a Docker image. But after you get all your Unify set up, everything configured properly through Docker, you need to learn how to commit changes. So this is basic Docker usage. I'm trying to think. I think I just used this for reference for myself when I was first learning it. When did I make this post? 2018. So, I mean, it's still somewhat relevant. That's a lot newer than I thought. But anyways, yeah, that shows you how to... I don't think that actually shows you how to launch the containers, though. Yeah, that's probably not actually useful. There's probably better guides out there. I won't even bother linking it. Yeah, I can't stand any Rockstar. The launchers, Bethesda's getting pretty bad too. A lot of the Bethesda stuff is garbage. So I'm like, that sucks. You know what? Let's see if we can get some Windows 10 action. Is that gonna launch? Oh, hey! Haha! Reboot, save the day. All right. Jalopy. Yeah, I managed to break what is it? My Proxmox box again. I think we broke it last. Oh, I think it was actually, gosh, 3 weeks ago in that stream where we broke Proxmox because I deleted the entire cluster. But we had an offline box. I was able to pull a lot of the cluster configuration and revitalize it. All right, so let's pull up Old Edge. Download Chocolatey. I still love using Chocolatey to install stuff now. I used to use Night Night all the time, but now I'm like, meh, you know, Chocolatey's pretty awesome. It's like basically bringing Linux to Windows, and you know what, I can get behind that. That just makes my life easier. You break Proxmox whenever you touch it. Yeah, this is true. This is true. All right, so we got Chocolatey going. All right, we're gonna go Cocoa installed Microsoft. What was it? Microsoft Terminal? Oh, was it Microsoft Windows Terminal? Oh, was that it? Yeah, that was it. All right, good. I was like, I can't remember. Holy crap, look how many packages it's grabbing. It's grabbing Visual C++, 4 KB patches, and then the terminal. Oh, crap, all right. Let's, I keep forgetting to do the -Y so I don't get prompted. Yeah, Peter, I'm the same way. I still have an Epic account. I refuse to buy anything on Epic, but if I see like a free game or something like that, I'll go ahead and jump over there, install it. Sometimes I think with some graphics cards, I've actually gotten in there and done it. I think I got a couple free games from when I bought, I think it was an RX 570 over in one of my systems. All right, Windows Terminal. Here we go. Moment of truth. Terminal. C Matrix. That'd be hilarious if it still had it. Yeah. Does it run Bash? No, it doesn't run Bash, does it? Oh, we need to get Bash going in Windows. You know, I haven't done that. Let's do that. Let's download Bash. Windows Terminal. Oh, that's old. That's the old Ubuntu. No, that's 2018. Which one's this? Is it still using WSL2? Nah, that's the subsystem for Linux. Oh. Yeah. No. I thought there was a better way. Did they not release the new... Let's go to the Microsoft store with Windows Terminal. All right. Users. I think I do need to do WSL. Let's enable WSL2 on this guy, right? First, let's check which Windows version we're on. I think... Oh, it's not WSL. WinVer. Oh, we're on 1903. I think we need 2003, right? Download Windows ISO preview or Insider. Every time I open up Windows video or YouTube videos, it crashes. Oh my god. That's weird. Ah, WSL tabs, PowerShell tabs, and CMD tabs. Okay. Let's see if we can't grab WSL2. I really do need to grab it. Oh, can I not? I can't grab I can't grab 2004, can I? We can probably... does 1909 WSL2? Can I grab WSL2? I think it's only the 20 Insider Edition. Yeah. God. Well, this is a VM, so I don't care. Let's enable Insider Edition and grab our newest Windows. Talk to the Windows overlords. Advanced options. Can we do a build? Oh, it's not gonna allow me. Oh yeah. I think I probably did gpedit.msc. I think I put a group policy in. Take it easy, Air. You can do nested virtualization, Hikari. So I think it will technically work. We'll find out. But I'm pretty sure we can do some nested virtualization. We'll find out. All right, quality updates, blah, blah, blah. We'll just say not configured. All right, we're gonna go bleeding edge. We're gonna go preview build fast. 0. Ugh. Apply. All right. We're gonna be on the absolute bleeding edge of Windows. Oh, don't ever be here, kids. Bad things happen. GP update force. Pencil. Let's force our group policy update. All right. That should fix our updates. Does Cortana work? I think in this version, I didn't strip out all that, so... Let's download this stuff. Let's check advanced options. Yeah, we're good. It already went ahead and did all that, so we'll grab our updates. Just download bash.exe. Brilliant. I'm always on the bleeding edge. I just don't give a crap about Windows. Yeah. Like, I'm with Windows, it's to get a cohesive, somewhat standardized experience, you pretty much have to delay updates. A lot of people by default are getting put on preview builds, especially home users. Like if you're on Windows 10 Home, you basically just get crapped on over and over and over again. And that's unfortunate, but that's just kind of how it is. All right, we're pending installs, getting things ready. Should be good. Cortana. You know, they removed a lot of search functionality out of Cortana. It's still bloated as hell, but they removed, I think, a good section of its databases just because nobody was using it and it was taking up a ton of room. It's still really, really bloated, though. But the whole idea behind Cortana was it to compete with like Google Assistant and Alexa from Amazon. No, Alexa. No. Don't do it. Stand down. Stand down. No. Okay. But yeah, anytime you're using Windows 10, definitely go with the stable channel and delay your feature update releases. I always get this comment on any Windows video I do, and it's like, hey, you have to do all your updates, otherwise you're not secure in Windows. I'm like, There's two types of updates in Windows. Can't emphasize this enough. There's feature updates, which, as the name implies, just gives you features, or what I call bloatware. So those are the bloatware updates is what they should call them. But basically, you turn into a guinea pig for Microsoft. You get all these new features that kind of are half-baked and somewhat don't work. But anyways, that's the feature updates. You never want to be on the bleeding edge of the feature updates, except that's what we're doing today. But then you got your quality updates. And as the name would imply, these are your security updates that technically you should be installing and using. So that's how you do it. But don't immediately install every single quality update either. I always put a 4-day delay on my quality updates because the quality control at Microsoft, as we know, is almost non-existent. So let the other people go ahead of you, install all the stuff, mess up their systems, and Microsoft will recall it by the time your 4-day delay ends. So you'll have a much more consistent and good experience with Microsoft Windows. So delay your feature updates, do a very slight delay on the quality updates, about 4 days. Oh, hey, let's fix that, Peter. Let's do some dark theme. I think it has dark theme in 1903, right? Dark theme. Dark. Turn on dark mode. Yes. Oh, I need to activate Windows. 1 second. I shall activate Windows real fast. Trade secret here. All right, let's see what we got. I have a key. Super ultra mega awesome key. It should be in here somewhere. All right. And I'm gonna just Bloop. All right, let's activate Windows, shall we? Give me 1 second, and then we'll enable some dark mode so I'm not blinding you all. I hate to waste a key on an old VM, but I have a feeling this VM's going to be around a while until I break it. Which, who knows how long that'll be. Not very long, judging by my track record. Ooh, that product key did not work. Did I not install the right one? Uh-oh. Well, that did not work. Crap. Oh, I'm on Pro N. Never mind. I'm on the European release. Oh, 1 second. That's okay. Got a key for it too. Pro N this time. Don't be a Windows insider. They should call it Windows guinea pig. But yeah, if you do have an option of what to choose, some people always mix up the in connotation at the end of Windows 10. That's the European thing. They got sued in Europe for antitrust violations, and they had to break up some of the bundled software that came with it, which is good. So the European version, which is the in version, is actually better than the US version. Less garbage, which is good. That's what I am using on this one, which I try to use the in version whenever I can. Ah, there we go. Yay. I was like, dang it, I know I got a key. Even though I don't activate my VMs that often. Okay. Let's go. Blah, blah. Windows is now activated. And now we can go and enable dark theme. Dark. Dark. Ah. Sweet. There we go. Yay. Oh, how are we doing on our updates, by the way? Somebody commented on just getting, like, completely blinded by my white Windows theme, so we had to change it. Pending install. Okay, we're installing. Take a snapshot now. Ah, it's fine. I don't care. Yeah, thanks, Total Reach. Yeah, like I said, a lot of people were commenting about WinGet, and even though that's like the most popular thing to talk about right now on YouTube, it's garbage. That you can't even uninstall packages through WinGet, and I think the update on WinGet is also not working. So it's not really a package manager. It's just like I would say it's more of like a package installer. I mean, that's pretty much all it does. So this is crazy, but. Cocoa, and I did see someone mention Scoop instead of Chocolatey, which I do need to check out Scoop. We can actually probably do that right now. Scoop Package Manager. Let's see what pulls in on that. Scoop Package Manager. I love the default. Scoop, command line installer for Windows. That's interesting. So this is another chocolatey alternative. Someone mentioned. So let's install Scoop. Let's install another package manager. This is just a VM anyway, so who cares? Yes. And let's just copy this guy in. Initialize Scoop. You can get PowerShell in Linux. Yeah. I mean, it depends. So I use a lot of, like, a lot of people ask me, am I using Linux as my daily driver at my work? And I have been for quite some time. All right, yeah, we're good. So we have Scoop installed. What does it have? What does this have? Let's check the GitHub. I guess install and then read the GitHub. So this is more of a traditional one. I think this follows more of the Linux syntax. Scoop is a command line installer for Windows. Yep. Oh, that's cool. You can do multi-connection downloads using ARIA. That's pretty pimp, actually. So, interesting. Let's see what games are on here. Open source and freeware games. Scoop games. All right, yeah, no. I just saw it in a YouTube comment. I thought I'd mention it. It's kind of another package manager for Windows. Hey, random Swede, how you doing? Or Swee. What do you think of Linode? Good or bad? It's good. As long as it works for you, you get a good price. When it comes to VPS providers, typically I always go with where I get the best deal. If I can get a good deal, and as long as the service isn't garbage, which I'm sure the service is good with Linode. They've been around forever and they've been proven in the space. So I think that'd be perfect. It'd be totally fine. What stops those legal people from your office from using Linux? That's a good one, Peter. Microsoft Office is probably the biggest thing. When you have attorneys that have used Microsoft Office since the 90s, trying to switch them to a different office is troublesome. Also, they are dealing with a lot of third-party extensions in Office as well. So it's not just as simple as, hey, I need to open up my docx files. You really got to do a lot more than that. You have legal extensions. You have metadata scrubbers, which a lot of people don't understand metadata in Office documents. It's extremely dangerous in the legal community. Let's say I had a real nasty opposing counsel and I wanted to get an upper hand on them. Because how the legal game works, it's really interesting. But let's say that was the case. In that opposing counsel sent me a Word doc. Well, a lot of times with Microsoft Word, this shows you how craptastic it is, but at the same time, it's industry standard. So this is kind of a fun, I wouldn't say hacker way of doing things, but a way to kind of see what's been done to a document. Anything that's done to a Word document has metadata. So even if you have track changes on, you commit those changes, and then all those changes disappear, and you're like, okay, cool, let's go ahead and produce this to the opposing counsel. There's still metadata behind there. Even though you've technically committed the changes and those changes aren't visible in the document, you can do something called Metadata Assistant, and I can take that Word doc and say, hey, let's go ahead and just see what all they've done to it. And I can scrub it using this software and say, hey, here's all the changes that have been done to this document. Here's the back and forth they had internally between attorneys. oh, this is interesting. Look what they did with this clause. And it draws, it can give you an upper hand in a legal dispute when you can see these types of things. So having these tools are very, very vital. So, you know, and when it comes to that too, and I mean, outside of the legal realm, anytime you touch something on a computer, you should know I can get that back. So, probably the biggest thing I think that people always ask me to recover data. I always am hesitant to ask or do the data. Usually I preface any time of the data recovery with, yes, I can restore the data, but I will grab everything. Usually when it comes to phones, that's another big one that I grab, but I hate restoring phones because I always tell people when I grab this and I restore it, it's going to grab every picture that you've ever taken, including the ones where you're like, that was funny. Okay, I'm deleting it. Okay, it's deleted. No, it ain't. It's still there. I can get it. So, out of probably the last 10 people that have asked me to recover their phone, only one of them have actually said, oh, okay. Yeah, you go ahead and recover it. Most people are like, oh, yeah, never mind. So, it's kind of fun. But yeah, no, the whole setback is there's a lot of third-party integration in business with Office and also other aspects of those integrations that hold back things such as a lot of PDF. Adobe really has the market on a PDF. I haven't really found a good Linux PDF editor. And not just editing PDFs, but you have signing that happens. You have Bates and all these other advanced processing features to PDFs where Adobe really has the market. I mean, there's really not a competitor that I found that is good. There's some decent alternatives, but nothing really fully compares to it. A lot of times when I'm booting into a Windows VM, it's specifically to use Adobe PDF. Can you tell us how much people are watching you from Linux Desktop and YouTube? ARAM, I don't think I get those demographics. Let me check. I'll pull it up over here. And I don't think it actually breaks it down like that. It's not as much as you think, though. I can tell you from my website. Hey, thanks for the sub there, Exaner. Much appreciated, man. Thanks for subbing to the channel. Let's see here. No, it doesn't show me the platform in here. Let's go audience. Let's see who we got. I got 23% of the viewers are from the States, 9.3% from India, 5.6% from the United Kingdom, 4.3% from Germany, 3.9% from Canada. That's kind of a cool stat. I have 3.2% female viewership now. When I first started, it was like 0.4. so I'm over 3% with the female viewership now. I'm pretty happy with that statistic. It's growing. A majority of my viewers come from the age group 25 to 34 with 33%. Second is 18 to 24 with 25% viewership. 35 to 44, 20%. And as it just kind of falls off from there. But as you can imagine, obviously the younger crowds on YouTube from that. Subscribing numbers, really high, actually. I never actually say like and subscribe in my videos. And I find people just know. You know, I don't think you really need to say, hey, make sure you subscribe. Everyone's always talking about doing that, but it just doesn't make sense to me, because if I really like a creator or somebody that makes videos on YouTube and I'm like, hey, I want to make sure I get those videos, I'm going to go subscribe to them. Whether or not they say subscribe, I just, for me, it's a non-starter, so I never mention it. But we almost have like almost 30% of the watch time on here is from subscribers, which I'm really happy. I think that's a great statistic. And for not even ever mentioning like or subscribe, I think just work on making better videos and that'll kind of just be part of it. 10 people from Norway. Hey, hey, hey. Shout out to Norway. Yeah, plenty time. I gotta thank her for that. Thank you, Jennifer. Much appreciated. How many of them are for Taiwan? I don't know. Let's see. I think it breaks it down all the way. So if anybody wants to know their country. Oh, yeah. It really breaks it down. So let's see. Taiwan. Taiwan is down there a ways. Okay, it's not in the top 50. Yeah. Taiwan is not in my top 50. I get roughly about 2 million viewers a month, or 2 million views a month. So get them from all over the place. It's crazy. It's a really good spread across the world. So it's really good to see that Linux has really penetrated a lot of the world market. Lunduk has a big female following. I don't know if you're being serious or not, but I love that statistic if it is true. That's great. Oh, watch my videos when you're silent. That's okay. Yep, Turkey's up there actually. I think what Turkey is. It's in the top 20. That's pretty good. Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah. So this is views that you see. So you can actually see where everything kind of comes from. It's always interesting to watch the watch time and the average view duration. So like 3.3 is really bad. Like people that find me from Indonesia, even though they have a lot of views, the view duration's not great. So to increase these stats, I should subscribe to, like, you could pay to have your videos transcoded and really have more universal closed captioning. So that would probably bring this up, and I need to do that. I just haven't. India is also, look at that. India is really bad for view duration. 3.311, great band. Bad view duration. So that's kind of cool. Average watch time when people watch it around noon usually. But engagement's another one that I really view a lot. So you can see what's really resonating with people. You know, top videos, PinePhone, clean up Windows 10, Google Cloud Platform, which was weird. That's a super weird one. Why don't use VLC? And then Linux apps I use daily. That's the most watched videos on my channel for the past 5 days. No Russia there. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know why. It's kind of strange. Michael, that's awesome. I think I was watching most of chat during the London show. I love talking to those guys, though. I love just talking to people with opposing opinions. When I find people that don't think the same way as me, I love that conversation, because that's when I find you grow the most. That's when you can actually see kind of the other side, which is fantastic. Which I think a lot differently than they do. So it's a really good back and forth a lot of times, depending on the topic, of course. Sometimes we definitely agree on things. And sometimes we get lost in superhero chat too. Because, you know, they don't think, I think, was it Gardner and Matt don't think Batman's a superhero. I'm like, that's just blasphemy. Get out of here with that. I think at this point it's just like a running bit. They do it just to grind my gears. Does Russia even have YouTube? I don't know. I think they have their own censored version. I do get a lot of traffic from Russia through the website, though. Reach is kind of like the biggest thing that I look at when looking at these types of things. Click-through rate and then view duration. I try to stay around a 5-minute. View duration, try to get the click-through rate, how clickable your content is, getting these jiving well together. View duration is what I focus the most on, and that's just killing fluff. Anytime I see fluff in a video, it kills your view duration. Trying to get that average view duration up as high as possible is the biggest thing, where people will watch your videos the longest. And that just means you got to make better videos. And that's the biggest thing. And the click-through rate, that's just how good you are at making thumbnails. So there's some people that have like a 6% quick click-through rate, which is insane. And I've been getting a little bit better about this. Less text, more visual stuff. I'm still not great. I'm just not a very good artist in a lot of those things. But as far as traffic goes, I still get a ton of traffic through YouTube search. That's like my bread and butter. And that's how you... a lot of YouTube channels are always complaining about AdSense. It's because all their stuff is on trends and what's popular, what's trending now on YouTube. So they have these huge spikes and then it just kind of lulls off. I focus a lot on just searchability and trying to make a library where people can come to my channel and find and learn anything they want. And that's where I really focus everything, because then your viewership is really consistent. Like, look at the views. There's no spikes. Anytime I release a video, you see a little bit of a bump, but there's no spikes because I focus all on search. So it's a very consistent viewership and steady growth. I mean, that's really solid growth. And yeah, you always get a big spike right when something drops, and then this will drop off as the day goes on. It's just how's it work? How's it work? How it works. Oh, push-ups. Oh crap, jalopy. You gotta keep me in line. You know me, I forget. Let's do some push-ups. It is push-up time. Push-ups. All right, here we go, guys. Oh. All right. Here we go. Let's go. Getting swole. The dab comes after the pump. Yeah, the VPN usage is really high in Russia. Same with China. No comment. Now let's talk about Windows Server and how they don't know the difference between Linux and Unix. Windows Server really has its place in the business realm when it comes to Active Directory. So most businesses run Windows Active Directory still, and that's where most of the Windows users or Windows servers are utilized. Windows servers also, a lot of businesses use it for Hyper-V because Windows Server is actually cheaper than VMware counterparts, and it's actually pretty solid. Yeah, I'd be curious. I have ExpressVPN as a sponsor. Well, not really a sponsor, an affiliate. And I use them a lot. They're pretty good. They're probably one of the fastest VPNs I've used. OG, who didn't know the difference between Linux and Unix? That's kind of funny. Does Debian have SMT? Simultaneous multi-threading control. I don't know on that. Michael? I've never looked at that. Yeah, I was using private internet access, and while I didn't have any problems with private internet access, when they got bought out, I kind of got spooked, and that's when I changed the sponsorship. Because I know a lot of people got burned on NordVPN when they had their servers hacked. And when that server hack happened, they had bare metal access for like a month. And it took them like 18 months to even make a public claim about it. I don't know what the deal was with it, but I remember Jay's 2 Cents did a whole bit because he was sponsoring or had them as an affiliate, and he dropped them after that whole thing. And my main worry about private internet access is that something like that would happen since they got bought by a conglomerate that already had a couple VPN providers. And my main worry is they'd consolidate their current VPN infrastructure into these other companies and save some money. So I haven't seen anything since they've gotten them bought out this past year, I think it was. So I just wanted to go ahead and dump them, give people the opportunity to if they want to, but I never had any problems with private internet access. And honestly, I think my affiliate still exists. I still think I have an affiliate link somewhere out there with them, but I pretty much stopped recommending them and moved everything to ExpressVPN after that buyout. Huh. That's funny. Yeah. A lot of people, OG, in the tech space don't like to be corrected. So I get that. A lot of people have issues admitting they're wrong. And a lot of people take things a little too literal. So I can see that. Not that it's right or wrong. It's just... it's one of those things. I don't mind when people correct me. If I'm wrong about something, I want to know it. Especially if I was making some kind of crazy comment like that. I think I was listening to a podcast, and the host of the podcast said something just completely asinine. And I was just like, oh, I feel bad for you. And then the guest didn't correct him. And I think they were talking about like square footage or something like that, and cost per square foot. And it was very obvious the host of the podcast didn't know what the hell they were talking about at all. And I was like, eesh, this is cringe. And the guy behind there was obviously pretty knowledgeable, and he wanted to correct him, but he was like, I don't know if it's my place, and I don't know how they to take it. So he just kind of was like, yeah, I'm not sure. And just kind of left it there. And then the host just kept going on and on. I'm like, oh. So I view corrections as a good thing, as long as someone's not being just rude about it. Some people are just trying to catch you on like a technicality kind of thing. Like sometimes I do a lot of generalizations, and it's fine as long as the generalizations apply. And a lot of times people will go, well, you didn't mention this special thing about this. But I was like, yeah, the generalization still applies. It's not that I was saying something wrong. I just omitted that because going down that rabbit hole you'd lose a lot of viewers with. And when I get that, usually I'm just like, okay, yeah, no, I don't need that addition or addendum to it. So but for the most part, I do like the corrections anytime I get them in the comments, because that just expands your knowledge, as long as they're not straight up trolling. What's your opinion on home plugs for networking where Ethernet isn't viable? Total Reach, yes, you're talking about Ethernet over Powerline Ethernet, I think is what it's called. And Powerline Ethernet, it depends on the house, and if you have good ground and how your box is wired, it can be decent. Kind of. I still think Powerline Ethernet is trash. But when you have no other option, it's okay. So something that doesn't need much. Let me try and think of a good use case. Okay, you have like a little device that only has an Ethernet jack,
and it doesn't have any Wi-Fi, and it doesn't really need much throughput. It just needs some type of internet connection to do a small amount of traffic. In that scenario, that's a very niche scenario, but a scenario nonetheless, where Powerline Ethernet makes perfect sense. It's great. Plug it in. Pretty much every other scenario out there, I would say either Wi-Fi or drop a whole Ethernet cable. And given the option between the two, I usually always drop a cable. I'll do an entire cable run. As much as I hate running cable, I will always do the cable run. I am a true believer when it comes to hardwired Ethernet. I absolutely love hardwired Ethernet. Powerline Ethernet has a very, very small niche market where it kind of works, but using Powerline Ethernet for like a computer or something, I'm like, no, not in a million years. I would buy a Wi-Fi card. I would buy pretty much anything but. So don't use Powerline over Ethernet for most use cases, but there's a very select niche market for it. As a gamer who used Ethernet over PowerNet, I can say it was a really bad experience. Yeah, there you go. Scotty knows what's up. Sometimes you can get decent throughput on it when you're in a really new house, probably 90s and above. But if your house is over 30 years old, forget about Powerline over Ethernet. It might not even work. So, Larry Legend, houses in America have advantages that it's often just drywall to deal with, and is perfect for DIY janky wiring upgrades. I feel like Larry knows me. But what's Europe like? How's the construction in Europe differ from America's? Something I'm kind of just interested in. Do they do insulation and interior walls? Do they have different building standards? I'm kind of curious about that. Wow, you got 300 megabits. That's really impressive over Powerline over Ethernet, Hikari. I'm very impressed with that result. I think last time I tried, I got a fraction of a 100 megabit line. So I think I had like 10 or 20 megabits, something like that. It was pretty nasty. It was pretty gnarly. It was not enough to run a computer on for sure. I think I was using it for. I can't even remember what I was using it for. Yeah, anywho. It was gross, let's just say that. Oh, okay. Thermal insulation. Oh, I could see that, Peter. Yeah, that's really hard to fish through. I guess you could drill through using like a long bit and then maybe fish it with like fiber rods, maybe. Fiberglass rods. I've done that before through insulation. Not fun at all, but everything's doable. But yeah, having the empty hollow space like you do in here in America between the studs and the drywall makes for fishing wire. You just need some fish tape, drop the wire, Bob's your uncle. In Germany, most newer buildings are aerated concrete. Ooh. Yeah. Good luck trying to fish through concrete. Forget about it. You're better off just doing a cable run. Which, fun fact, this back here, this little, right here, I'm just going to do a cable run through it. Because I want to drop in some more monitors over here. And also do some basic runs. Like you see this monitor cable for the Mint box that I do. I'm going to be doing some gaming videos coming up. A lot of gaming videos, actually. I think the next 4 videos. Yeah, Saturday to, I think, like Wednesday is all gaming videos coming up. Or some semblance of Linux gaming. But having this cable like drawn out through here, I'm like, oh, all right. I need to get a decent HDMI cable and just do it through a run. Is what I've done is I've have it right through here and down here. But I'm so tired of fishing that. I put 3 HDMI cables all through this little hole, and I'd have to drill a whole new interface and do it, and I'm just like, it's not worth it. I'm just gonna do a cable run. I know it's not pretty, but whatever. I'm in my garage. I mean, come on. My house used to belong to... Get to the chopper. That's awesome. That's awesome, Mike. I love it. All right. Well, I think we're going to end it today. I know a little bit short today's stream. I wanted to try that PinePhone, but it just didn't work out. I'm going to try and get SSH and other things working on it. So next time we circle around to do it so you can actually see the screen, we'll do some SSH, but also actually have a screen share going. I'm going to do some more tinkering around on that so we can actually do some test calls. I got my boomer phone, as you guys called it, over here, and then I got my cell phone so we can crosstalk, make some test calls, try out some more of the open source cell phone. I know we didn't get quite to what that I wanted to do on the stream on that, but I'm working on it. Eventually, I will get that all working. It'll be great. Be fantastic. Just haven't quite got there quite yet, so. Oh, that's right. We got some push-ups. I almost skated out with some push-ups. All right, let's do some push-ups. You know me. I'm trying to get away from doing all the push-ups. You guys got to keep me honest. All right, let's do some more push-ups. I don't think I'm going to be able to do 30 on this round, but let's do some. Oh, man, that one got sloppy. That got sloppy towards the end. That got really sloppy. I don't even know how many I did there. I think it was 40. We're gonna call that 40. Oh, Rob. I love Rob. Like, when it comes to rating, Rob has been streaming on YouTube or Twitch since the beginning of the year. His beginner class in Linux. I love his streams, man. If Rob's available, I will literally rate him every time. Dab time. Dab. Dab for Chris. Yeah, Linux beginner boost. So, I think he used to work for, I can't remember who it was. Was it Intel? No, it wasn't Intel. It was, might have been IBM. I can't remember. But anyways, you got to check out his stuff. So whenever we go over to his stream, usually when he's on the terminal, he uses tmux, a customized tmux with no borders. I think it's three invisible windows that you can see. So you have WeChat at the top, and he uses a modified version of WeChat so you can see the chat. And then, I mean, it's just cool. So we're definitely raiding Rob. You got to check out his stream. I absolutely love him. And I'm dying. Doing 40 push-ups. Was not advised. No. All right, let's go Twitch. I'm gonna pull up Rob's stream real fast. All right. Here we go. Stay for the raid. unless there's any other questions, I'm gonna start queuing us up. It still takes about 60 seconds once I start. But yeah, there's always little good things. He's real big with Vim. So Rob uses Vim exclusively. So whenever you see Rob on here, he does use Vim. But I just want to thank everybody for coming out today. Always fun. I love these streams. I will be back on Monday. Monday stream will start really late. So for Monday's stream, I'm going to probably start in the afternoon. Usually I start about 9 a.m. my time. Monday's stream, I should be starting probably around 2 to 3 my time. So it's going to be about 6 hours after my usual start time. I just want to kind of tell everybody that because it's Memorial Day. We got stuff going on. So Monday stream will start a little bit later. And thank you guys again. And with that, everyone have a great weekend and stay for the raid on Rob because you got to check him out. At the very least, stay for a minute. As you can I always learn a little bit of something from Rob anytime I watch his stream. He's a great guy. So with that, we shall raid right now.